Welcome to this week's episode of the Drivetime Podcast, the global auto tech podcast designed to help you manage your business across all areas of your digital landscape, physical, all sorts. So I'm joined in the studio this week by Nick King, who is Autotrader's Insight Director, and also somebody I'm very glad to call a friend. We used to work together many years ago. So welcome to the episode, Nick.
Thanks, Jax. Lovely to be here. Good to see you again.
So just for the listeners, just a quick overview of what it is you do, because your job is really, you've got the best job, I think, in the industry.
Oh, yeah, I'm just really lucky. I mean, I'm a petrolhead who loves talking about cars and people, and I get to go and talk about cars and people to everybody all the time. And I love data too, and I love getting into data, and we have a huge amount of data. Everyone has lots of data these days, but I use our data, and we try and use our data to help everyone be even more successful than they already are. Now, we always say everyone who works and kindly spends their money advertising their stock with us they're experts. They do this for a living.
Yeah.
But what we want to do is try and say, we just want to augment your expertise and help you by using data, insight, research, understanding consumer behaviour. And it's great fun. And I go out and I talk a lot.
So when I went to work at Autotrader probably 18 months after the print edition had shut. So there was a big sort of shift from the way that, and the reason for that was Autotrader could see the writing on the wall was that it's quite a cumbersome journey to flick through pages and try and find a listing that might be black and white to an online experience where you can find something on your phone. You've got the internet in your pocket the entire time, and actually you can start to browse images in real time, and now there's all kinds of clever things where you can AI enhance the images and everything else. I think the biggest surprise for me when I first came to work with the team there was just the sheer size, because you mentioned data and the amount of data that Autotrader have. So this is for the purposes of the audience, a UK version of, so this is Autotrader UK. The audience is huge. There were 11 million unique users going in and out of the platform, and probably 500,000 units of stock at any one time. And that gives you a footprint of what people are searching for, what their budget might be, their behaviour. You can track their clicks, what they're comparing it with. And then you and I spent a bit of time helping OEMs understand what that behaviour looked like.
Exactly.
And you mentioned earlier that you're kind of passionate about people, and your background was in advertising, wasn't it? And
yes, it's psychology, it's consumer psychology. That's actually my background, and I'm brilliantly named a visiting lecturer on the consumer psychology course at Anglia Ruskin in Cambridge.
Nice.
That's really so my parents can say Nick went to Cambridge. I didn't. I went to Loughborough, but it's just like, it's a nice thing to do, and it's flattering to be asked to go and talk about data. But what was most interesting when we first started working together, I've been with Autotrader for 20 years. They were actually my customer before I joined them. I was research director at a big advertising agency, a big media planning agency, and Autotrader was our client. And one day they came and asked me, would I like to join them? Which I thought, fantastic, yes, I can talk about cars all day. Yes, brilliant. So that's really why I'm here. But when I joined, we were a huge magazine, one of the third biggest circulating magazines in the country. Radio Times, TV Times, Autotrader. 2 million copies a month, 500,000 a week, really, across 13 regional editions with a tiny website.
Yeah.
And 19 years ago, when I joined officially, I looked at the top 10 cars, top 20 cars people searched for on Autotrader, and they were the same as the top 10 or 20 cars registered with the DVLA. What people were looking for on Autotrader, even then, when it was small, was the same as what people buy.
Yeah.
And in those days, we didn't have new cars, we just had used cars, but this DVLA is all cars. And I keep track of this, and it has remained the same. So you could actually argue Autotrader's is a barometer for car buyers, because we just get, as you say, tons and tons of traffic, sometimes 90 million visits a month, huge numbers, just ridiculous. And the first thing you do on Autotrader is you put your postcode in, and the postcode delineates down to around 7 houses on one side of a road. So we can see who you are, where you live, and what you're looking at. We've got some basic Acorn data as well, some demographics, which is interesting as well. So it's all GDP, it's all safe. But we can see what people are looking for and what they're not looking for, and we can produce heat maps. And actually nowadays what we do is we're trying to help the government with their electric rollout. We can see where people are looking for electric vehicles and where they're not, where the demand is and where it isn't. So actually, we do go to number 10 every couple of months and we present a whole load of stats on this is the picture of the UK today for EV. And because, without going into EV massively, because I know some of your other podcasts have done it, but we need to convince people to do something they don't particularly want to do because they're scared. The secret, I think, to tech, is my view, but actually an Autotrader view, is we need to make it easy.
Yes.
If we make it easy, you can do it. If you put a barrier in the way, then actually you put barriers in the way and people go, no thanks. A few years ago, in 2012, we had a similar sort of tech challenge that we've got now with electric cars, but it was the analogue turn-off of televisions. In 2012, all the analogue tellies stopped working. We all had to then go and buy Freeview boxes or smart tellies, which could then watch all those channels.
Yeah.
Up until then, you could have any little television in your caravan at home with a little circle aerial and tune in and watch 4 channels.
Yeah.
And that's what we grew up with.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. I even had a black and white one still. And then they turned off the analogue signal. And there was a huge amount of messaging to warn everyone, it's changing. You have to then get a box or update a telly. And that's quite complicated. But it worked because televisions came down in price. Freeview boxes it wasn't actually that complicated. But what we're doing now is we have now got to change everyone from driving petrol and diesel cars into electric cars. And that's a much bigger, scarier thing. We've got early adopters who bought them and go, they always get the latest tech. They were the ones who got the latest smartphones, latest tellies. They are the ones who bought the latest cars. But for the rest of us, there's a sort of nice bell chart which splits the population into percentages. And there's roughly about 68% of people in the middle who are on the fence going, what do I do? This isn't very easy. I'm not used to it. So what we need to do as an industry is try and make it easy. Yeah. Myth bust, reframe the problem. So I spend my life now, really, a lot of the time, I talk about a lot of things, but a lot of things I'm talking about is how do we persuade people who don't particularly want to do something by reframing it and making it really easy. Yeah. And it's not rocket science, it's just a way of lateral thinking and actually coming at it from a different angle.
I think you put a piece of research out a few years ago. You talked about the tipping point, didn't you? So you talk about early adopters, and then you've got sort of that early majority, mid-majority, then there's a tipping point when, then like you say, and then there might just be an event, which means I'm going to switch off. So Autotrader, I remember the day the print edition stopped. I worked in print publishing and we all went, oh my God, because at the time we made the majority of our revenue on print advertising. And there was a perception that the size of the ad was the value of the thing. So small ads, even though you had more eyes on those smaller ads, were perceived to be less valuable than the big format. Yeah. So there was a shift in how you position. Well, actually, the value isn't in the size of the thing. And we saw, I think, people would read maybe in print but convert online because they could click through and do something. It was easy. Like you say, make it easy for me to do the thing rather than have to find a number, find my phone, remember the number, dial the number. I've lost interest. I've moved on. So I think that's interesting. I'm a bit on the fence. I've got a hybrid at the moment, and I went down to, I think there are pockets of the UK that are really well served by EV charging, pockets that are just not quite there yet. So there's a local government incentive. There's a need to have that,
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, I read something it was in the Metro literally yesterday. It was about China. We all know, of course, the Chinese have massively adopted electric vehicles. BYD is a massive, amazing company. But what they have is, not everyone has drives in China. Very few people have drives. And one of the things that we're trying to push here was an idea is, if you've got a drive, there's no reason not to have an electric vehicle, because what's the average distance driven by a car per day in the UK today? It's about 6 to 10 miles, which is going to Asda, going to Sainsbury's, taking the kids to school, going on a small commute.
Yeah.
So any electric car is good enough, even one with 120-mile range is good enough for 10 journeys before you've got to charge it.
Yeah.
And if you've got to drive, you're going to be charging it when you get home anyway.
Yeah.
So, and there are millions of drives in the UK and they haven't all bought an EV yet. So that's the lowest hanging fruit we can go after. When we've got 7 million drives full of electric cars around the UK, then the myths, electric cars catch fire, they cause car parks to collapse, all the rubbish you hear. I'm not belittling fire, of course, it's horrendous, but they tend to not catch fire as much. They will dissipate because most people will be driving them.
Yeah.
In China, what they have is special big charge parks where you go, you charge, it costs 7p per kilowatt. It's not 85p per kilowatt. You can have a coffee, you meet your friends, they're huge, and everyone uses it as a meeting point. And they just, once a week, they go and charge their car and have a catch-up and a chat and do a bit of shopping. They've made it easy. Yeah.
Just to your point about people go to the supermarket, people go, so I think you probably, and this is for me a massive opportunity, like, hey, Sainsbury's, Aldi, whoever, I tend to spend, I'll go once a week, or I'll go, usually at least once a week because I've got kids, but it's, you go there, so when I went to work after I left Autotrader, I went to work for an e-commerce agency, and they were owned by a retail loyalty business. Right. And the loyalty was in the form of, you collect coupons and you get some plastic crap. Rather than, I was like, why don't we connect our automotive business up with this loyalty business? Wouldn't it be great if, and that was the phrase I learned from Autotrader, wouldn't it be great if you reward my loyalty as you do with the petrol at Morrison's? It's cheapest fuel usually.
Yeah.
There's no charging, but I'll be there for an hour.
Yeah, I know.
You could charge to 80% in an hour, exactly, and then give me loyalty. Yeah. Incentivise me to come to your supermarket and spend money there.
That's exactly what we should be doing now. There's an issue with how do we get the power to those places.
Yes.
That's the thing. I mean, I've heard tale of you need to have substations put in place for a certain amount of power. It's going to cost. But why not invest in that? And why not have 300 chargers at Morrison's for everyone who turns up? Guess what they're going to do?
Solar panel your entire roof supermarket. Wouldn't it be great if you just use that huge footprint and put solar on it?
Is that exactly? I mean, those guys. So I have noticed there are way more solar panels in the UK now. I was on the train to Glasgow last week. Went past a field, just like thousands of them. You just think,
I don't get that. I don't get the solar in field thing. And my background was agriculture, and we used to plant crops. Yeah. I thought walking through a wheat field and getting my fingers to feel the crops. But
it's a bit odd. But at least we're embracing a different kind of power source. But yes, why shouldn't you charge? Sadly, maybe it's the British way that we have to make money out of everything. So 85p a kilowatt is so expensive. It's more expensive than diesel when you're on a motorway. It's like great. So the incentive to charge, no one likes charge. You do it as an emergency. But if we actually did grab the bull by the horns and bring the prices down, then of course more people will adopt it. And what we've seen is that when prices come down, people get into them. So used EV prices have come down. They're now at a similar level, at parity to ICE. Yeah. Finally. So guess what? People are buying them. An issue is there's less of them around because of COVID. There were less cars made in 2020, 2021 and 2022. Normally we register 2.5 million new cars a year in the UK every year. 1 million go to individuals, the rest go to fleet, lease and rental companies, 2.5 million. But during COVID, in 2020, we registered 1.6 million, 2021, 1.6 million 2022, 1.6 million. So there's 2.8 million fewer cars made, registered, than there should be. Yeah. And those cars become the used cars. So if there were less made in 2020, 2021 and 2022, that means in 2025, 2026, 2027, there will be less 3 to 5 year old cars because they don't exist. But that's what people want to buy. And when we look at the stock turn, the fastest turning cars are the 3 to 5 year old used cars. Right. Electric. Yes. But there's less of them. We think there's going to be 5 million fewer 0 to 5 year old cars in 2026 than we should have. And that's a big issue for any retailer who's thinking, it's hard enough getting stock anyway now. There's going to be less. And that's what people want to buy. So it's tough.
So we say it's hard enough getting stock, just because of the sheer lack of volume, or because it's very competitive and,
All of those elements. Certainly there was less made. So if there were less vehicles made at one point, there will be less stock anyway. But it's got really competitive. We have more dealers working with us than ever before. We were told many years ago, there was a conference, and it was some very wise management consultants said, we estimate by 2025 there will be something like 40% fewer retailers in the UK than there are now. And we've got not the case. We literally have more advertisers working with us than ever before. There's more because we haven't gone into contracted, and it hasn't. I think it was pushing from COVID where everything went online, and of course it had to because we were all stuck at home. That did boost the digital economy, absolutely did, because you had to. So we've seen a lot of new sites and areas develop.
And go away again.
And then go away again, yes.
Yeah.
But we've come up with a product called, I'm not here to sell, but we have a product called Deal Builder, which is basically make it easy, allow me to do things when I'm looking. So it's, can I reserve the car and I'm looking at it? Oh yeah. Can I actually begin to talk about the finance? Can I actually get further along the process at home when I'm doing the research, which is simply about making it easy. Yeah. And some of the retailers that have trialled this go, it's brilliant. It converts. Surprise, surprise. You've made it easy and it converts.
We know that consumers, and there was always a belief, we kind of have the conversation with retailers that, look, nobody walks in. And we know that 90% of the research is done online before you walk in, because as a consumer, we're quite curious. We want to do our research. I love the psychological reason why reviews matter, and it's because we're hardwired to be in a crowd. And that is a human fundamental need.
Yeah.
So
we
reviews
want
matter because,
social proof. Yeah. Am I going to be okay? So we crave that.
Will I get eaten? Will I be okay?
Yeah, exactly. Will I get exactly? It goes right back to Neanderthal man. Exactly.
It does.
Right.
It does. Exactly. So I love that kind of key moments research that we used to talk about years ago, and it was just, it's still the same. So those kind of fundamental human moments don't actually change, and that's why digital projects or products engineer for those reasons, those triggers. So just sort of thinking about how AI, because what you're talking about there is co-driver doing some of that assist me thing. Yeah. And I love that. I think we're starting to do some more deep diving into how do we help retailers understand what AI is going to do and how it's going to shift behaviour, how are consumers behaving online. So thinking back to when we first did the kind of whole digital, we're now, yes, we've got a digital platform, we've closed the print, we've turned off the analog TV, you haven't got a choice, you have to come online. And that then gives you a richness of data and a much better experience. So the biggest triggers there, I think, were giving people better choice of images, and then we would kind of encourage retailers to do more of that.
Yeah.
What have been the big trends as you've been, as you say, you speak to thousands of people every year, and most people in the UK will have seen something you've done if they haven't seen you at an event. Just walk through the trends and where you've seen the biggest transitions over the last, maybe post-COVID, I think, because people, that was the biggest trigger as people have come back into store and back into life.
Sure. Yeah, actually, it is that. The word AI, is this obviously overused word, and we've been using it for many, many years, as have many companies without realising it was AI.
We call it machine learning.
Machine. So it's the most exciting thing, really. One of the most exciting things. So Deal Builder and Co-Driver, these two words. So Deal Builder is for the consumer to actually build their deal online. That's a new thing, and it sounds completely obvious. Why didn't we have that before?
I know.
Because it's like...
But let me save this thing and come back, because I want to do a thing, I want to think about it, and I'll come back. Yes. So I'm just going to save it as I go along.
I know, exactly. It is one of those things, and that's when technology really works, is when it's so obvious you think, why didn't we do this before? So that's when you know it's working. Yeah. So brilliantly, that's why that product does actually work. And then, of course, with Co-Drive as well, where you help, it can... we look at pain points. So what is annoying? What do you find hard in your work? And one of the things, we talked to many, many retailers, and they all said, we've got to put 40 images on. What order do I put them in? Oh, God, what's the best order for someone? Co-Driver will rearrange your photos in a second, bang, to the right order, based on an algorithm which checks what people like looking at.
Oh, I love that.
That's brilliant. It's just like, why didn't we do that before? It's just like this. So that is when technology is working. The other thing they hate doing, or find hard to do, because it is hard, is how on earth do you write a description for every car?
Oh my God, AI, large language model.
Exactly.
Please, can you? I love ChatGPT. Yeah. Please help me write this so it doesn't sound shit.
Yes. It's just that is using technology to make it easier for me, to save me time so I can go and do other things to make more money.
Yeah.
So in the past, every company, I've worked in many companies, and every company comes up with a product, and sometimes you think, we're just going to try and push this to our customers because it's going to make us money. And sometimes they work, but often they don't, because it's not hit a pain point. We've stopped doing that. Not that we ever really did it, but it's like now what we really concentrate is how do we make things easier? How do we reduce pain points? Because here's the absolute crux. We are a marketplace. If you advertise with us, we're very thankful. If you go out of business, we don't have a business. So it's in our business actually to make sure that you can see how the world's evolving, and can we keep and make it easier for you.
Yeah.
And that's all we're trying to do with tech. Keep customers, make them happy, so they're more successful, and then they stay with us, and then we stay successful.
I think one of the things it used to do that was really brilliant, I came and saw some of them when I first started working there, was the masterclasses. So it's like really hand-holding retailers into, here's how you can use digital to help your business. Because like you say, if they go out of business, you don't have any customers. So, and I think the other thing that I loved, we work with people like Mark McNeil, so some of the ex-ThoughtWorks people were kind of in the senior leadership team. I was like, oh my God, I've like found my people. I loved it because it was just such a great positive energy of, let's do it like this. So, and the stuff that talk about pain points is when you look at, and we still do this now, when you do a discovery with any customer, you go, well, just walk through exactly what you're doing right now. And you and I worked on some of that used car evolution of how do you manage a used vehicle. So first thing you do is you track what are all of the touch points with that used vehicle. How many times is it photographed, touched by somebody, loaded onto a thing, moved off a thing? And you go, oh my God, how can you take all of those different touch points out and like have less clicks, have less actions? So it's quicker. So I haven't got to stand there and do this thing.
Yeah.
So I think that was we still talk to retailers now, and like the whole digital transformation piece. The first question is, what do you do? They're like, where do I start? They just don't know where they start. Sometimes it's, well, look at what you have in paper, get rid of that. Where do you start to use tech to replace manual processes? How often do you phone a customer? Can you send an alert through an app? Things like that. What can you do that's different? What's the wouldn't it be great if, or how do you make it easy? Maybe the theme of this episode should just be make it easy.
Make it easy. Please make it easy. Well, I mean, we go back a few years ago, and there were so many different dealer management systems that someone would have. And we come in and say, we've got another one for you. They go, oh, brilliant, thanks very much. And they don't talk to each other, or they don't link, and you've got to separate. All that, of course, is not making it easy. You're giving someone extra work. So if you can get down to a level where... So a really simple example is the QR code. Who used a QR code before 2020? I sort of knew what one was, but throughout lockdown, it was the menu in pubs and restaurants. You get used to it. I was in Cairo on a bucket list holiday in September 2023. Went to go and see the pyramids. We were there, and there was a QR code in our hotel in Cairo. That was the menu. And then we flew to Luxor and went down the Nile. We went to Ramses II's 3,000-year-old mausoleum, and there's a QR code. They're not 3,000 years old. But it's just like everyone knows how to use one. Even my dad, who's 92, can get out his phone and hover over the QR code at the golf club to see what's for lunch. And he's 92. How come this old man knows how to do it? Because he says, oh, yeah, I just get my phone.
You point and shoot. That's what you have to do.
You point and shoot. And that is tech absolutely enabling and winning.
Yeah.
If we can get to that, that's where that's almost always where we need to get to.
Yeah. That's really good. To your point there about kind of complex systems, we were doing a piece of work where we looked at just how many systems dealers are having to log into and out of, and it's just mind-blowing. Yeah. It's still really complicated. So the process I think we're now looking at is, how do you bring more of that stuff natively into your application, or how do you just fire out the API so that everything is event-based? So something happens here, which means something happens here, here, and here. So the thinking is happening with the machine, not with the human, because I don't have to think about what systems I need to populate with that information.
You shouldn't have to.
So no, you don't need to.
We're seeing similar things with the NHS, and COVID helped radicalise their tech. I speak at a lot of conferences, and I was at one talking about customer satisfaction, customer experience. And there was someone who was in charge of digitising hospital appointments. It was a really big job. And this was in 2019. He said in 2019, we had a 10-year project that by 2029, you'd be able to have a video conference or call with your doctor. It's going to take us 10 years. They did it in 10 days. Because COVID, you had to. Suddenly, of course you can. You can just phone your doctor, can't you? Because he's got a mobile or she's got a mobile.
Yes.
I had a phone call with my doctor because he could see me.
Yeah.
Because I had an ear infection. He was like, oh, this is amazing. He said, and if we need to see a consultant, we can arrange it for today. On the NHS, it takes 4 months to see a consultant. He said, no, we'll just phone him up. Because they can see you. Because you can just, it's that sort of dramatic speed up.
Yes.
That's incredible. So that will do your head in. It certainly did my head in, and it's all right. And it can freak you out if you've got too much going on, but actually all it does is make you think, this is really simple. We've just had to recently change our doctors because our postcodes areas of something's gone wrong. We were in the wrong area for our local GP, and they said all you've got to do is go online, register with our sister practice, and you're in. Whereas years ago, you used to have to go down, send a letter, bring a letter. So we did it. It took 2 minutes. Ding, ding, ding. Click. Got an email. Bang. You're in. Here's your new doctor. It's like, oh.
The NHS app, the tech they have now is brilliant. Actually, I use the NHS app all the time just to do my repeat prescriptions.
Exactly.
I just literally do it, and
just
I go.
click.
There's a surgery with a pharmacy attached. I just walk in.
I know.
Done.
And that actually, what's happened is that has crept up on us.
Yeah.
You didn't realise it until suddenly. Why I have repeat prescriptions for some medication, and all you do is just go click, wait 3 days, and go and pick it up.
Yeah.
It's like, this is easy. So that is making life easy for me.
So just thinking about some of the stuff that you've mentioned about the deal builder stuff. So I think we have the same thing where historically one of the big pain points was like valuations, and that was a pain point that we when we were working as a Autotrader had. Everybody, you'd look at what the advertised price was, and that then would probably create a pain point because you go into the dealer to trade your car in, and you get a retail trading price. So things like that, you start to go, well, actually, no, if you're going to trade it in, it's worth this. If you're going to sell privately, it's worth that. And if you want to kind of do a we buy any car, you'll probably get this. So it just manages expectations to reduce disappointment.
Yeah.
So I think that's the bit where you can start to track all of those little touch points that a consumer is doing. And like you say, you're gathering affordability. How much do I want to spend every month? Things like that make it. I don't want to just see the total price. I need to build in what my trading is going to be worth, and you've got all of that data. So when they walk into the showroom, how ready for the customers are the retailers? Are they actually using and adopting all of that information?
That's that's a powerful question, isn't it? So I'm going to take a step back and say that we still do mystery shopping. Part of the Click Awards, which is Retailer Awards, was called Click Awards when you and I used to work on it, and so it's been running now for 16 years. 17 years.
Yeah.
And we still do mystery shopping. We still try and find out, and we test, and it's not to catch anyone else; it's to see response. And very recent numbers were that of the top 1,000 performing retailers in the country, top 1,000, and we can see who you are because you're working with us. We can see your stock.
I've mystery shopped you.
Yeah, and we've mystery shopped you. 20% ignore the email when it comes in. 1 in 5 don't reply. So an email is sent from a professional company asking about a vehicle, and 1 in 5 don't reply. Because, in fact, when I go out and I talk to a lot of retailers, and actually a lot of them don't reply to emails because they think it's a waste of time anyway, because you'd phone or you'd turn up if you were interested.
Would you?
But would you? What if it's 10 o'clock at night when you're shut? And of those 1,000, so the 20% don't reply, only 9% replied, come and see the car. So 97 out of 1,000 said in the email that they replied, come and see the car. What's the first thing you'd say if you were a retailer? So I'm being presumptuous, assuming and these are some of the best retailers, but everyone's busy. What actually happened, we think, is these numbers have happened after 2023 when there was a lack of supply, a huge increase in demand for used cars, and retailers were literally picking up the phone and saying, no, sorry, it's sold, because it was. And a lot of the people who work at retailers are new to the business and joined in that stage and are used to just effectively going, oh, it's sold. And it was great because there was a lack of supply. But now we're back. Every retailer is telling me now we're back to like pre-2019 style where you have to fight for your customer.
And this is where I think technology can do some of that automation of response. Obviously, we have tools as well. We don't want to, we have tools where you can automate responses, and there's things like there are AI tools now that can manage your chat. So But wouldn't it be great if for me is, that one might be sold, but here are 3 that look similar.
Exactly.
Might be, we all know that most consumers, we had Scott from Sofas in recently, and he was saying that actually people want to just find the stock and when it's available. So you could start to weave in stuff that's being refurbed, stuff that you're about to have trade-ins.
This will be available next Wednesday. So, brilliant. No, exactly. It's respond to me is really what it is.
Yeah, help me into the thing. And like most consumers, I think, you don't have to sell a vehicle to a consumer, they kind of know what they want.
Yeah.
Because as you say, we're already looking. You've got 90 million visits to the website already, shopping, and I've got 3 petrolhead sons and they're constantly on Autotrader.
Exactly. Yeah.
So just coming back to picking up the lost leads, which I still find remarkable when there is so many technology tools and things you can start to weave in. How open are retailers to using some of that tech to do some of that responding? Because you could have 100%
You should have 100% response, shouldn't you? Yes. Some are nailing it. There are some brilliant examples. I'm not going to name anyone, but there are some brilliant examples. But there's still a lot of old school. Someone actually said at a conference the other day, it was like a masterclass that we were doing, and he said, "I don't want to put all the information on the ad because I want you to phone me, so I can then tell you about the extra bits it's got." Which was so old school, isn't it? It's just like saying, here's a lovely 330e BMW. It's red. It's 29,995. That's it. Yeah, but actually, what it's got is Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, etc. Oh no, I'm not going to say that because I want them to phone me to find out. And guess what? Most of the traffic on Autotrader happens at night when you're shut.
Yes.
And that's when people are going to send. And if they're looking at a 330e, a red one, there's going to be 20 of them. The one that has all the detail is the one they're probably going to go and say, okay, if they had Deal Builder, that might be the one they reserve.
Yeah. But also, people search by the tech that it's got in the vehicle. So I want to make sure that if I'm buying a vehicle, I want it to have CarPlay or I want it to have whatever. I knew what I wanted.
Apple CarPlay, exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, it was amazing to hear, and this was literally last week. I won't say who it was again, but it was a well-known group who were saying, we don't want to put everything on. In 2025, you still haven't realised, actually, that I can do all the research as a consumer. We're all researchers now. Everyone is. That's what the internet has given us. If you put any barriers in the way, all you're going to do is, I'll go to the next one. 470,000 cars to look at on Autotrader. And you will just swipe. You'll go, okay, next.
I think as well, consumers are still quite brand promiscuous. I mean, some people will kind of want the same brand, whatever. Other people just shop around. So you will look, and now you mentioned like BYD are bringing in some amazing tech.
Oh yeah,
some of the newer products that are coming into the market are so highly specced. And then we're going to see people. I'd love to know what your opinion about this is, but like how people are using AI to search for their next car. So ask ChatGPT, what should I be driving? How does that kind of affect what you're doing? And do the listings in Autotrader, are you thinking about how you optimise those ads for AI searches?
Right, so brilliantly, we are ready. Actually, we have a thing called relevance search, and relevance search actually uses AI to choose the most relevant car for you based on loads. We actually have rocket scientists who work for us. They are rocket scientists. It's like, oh my God, heads the size of a planet. And we've just had an internal conference, and they were trying to explain the algorithm which powers this relevancy search. And of course, we can't understand it. It's based on millions and millions of interactions, goes into this model. And here's the real crux. I found this is mind-blowing. We always thought for years, you go on Autotrader and you search low to high. You automatically go low to high. So I want to see the cheapest car. Actually, automatically now, our search uses this relevance tool and shows you the most appropriate cars for you. 75% of people never go away from that search.
Really? So how did you market that? Did you tell people, we can search by relevancy? Because that is incredible.
It just started. We launched that. So we do A/B testing. We never just launched it. We used to, like everybody, save all our changes up for once a year, and then bang, one night the whole site looks different. And goes, oh my God, what have we done? And everyone kicks off. Of course they do. And of course, now we're in an agile social, and we A/B test, and every day, every week, we're testing something. 5% of the audience are somewhere. You don't know where you are. It looks the same, but we're testing, and we test and measure. And as long as there's no detriment, there's only an improvement, then that goes live.
I remember when there was some it was like a crazy amount of releases. Like it's a new product changes. So a release is I've changed something on the site. That's a release. Yep. So we do loads of product releases, and we kind of see in the back end how much stuff we get. Obviously internal releases we can see, and I'm like, why don't we tell customers that we're doing this? Because our systems are sometimes perceived as like old legacy, whatever, but actually the investment that's going in the back end is incredible because we're constantly updating APIs and how we connect in, and like same with Autotrader. It was something like, I don't know, 100 releases a week, or there was some incredible number of releases that were going out, and you go, how do you do that?
There was a site. I mean, I'm sure I presented it with you to Volvo once. It was it's called Wayback Machine, and you go onto Wayback Machine on Google, and it shows you what a site looked like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And actually, so I did Autotrader, I did Amazon. You could just, oh my God, I didn't see it change. When did that change?
Look at Google 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't, and that's, we get blinkered to everything we see every day. But when
your brain adjusts to it, though, doesn't it? It's like you adjust to it.
Yeah. And then it becomes the norm. It's the old tap machine. It's just like, oh, what do you mean I've got to pay cash? It's like, no, I tap my card.
So I love that. So just thinking about then those data scientists and what they're doing to help consumers find things. Because I remember, there were so many different lines of data, and because of all those interactions. So I was going to ask you then kind of what's coming. So what are the biggest changes that we've seen? Relevancy search is one of them. So actually, you see this on Facebook, don't you? So actually now you look at comments and it filters them by most relevant.
Yes.
How does it make a decision?
How do you know? How do you know? And actually, when you look at them, they are right. You go, oh yeah, actually that is relevant to me.
I wasn't interested in what that guy had to say at all.
But that actually doesn't happen, does it? You actually think, no, I am interested in that because they and that's quite scary, isn't it? So Big Brother is watching us and all those kind of things. So yeah. So what's coming next is so I'm not privy to I think it's making it even more perfect for you, or not perfect, trying to make it simpler for the consumer, so that whatever they're looking for, I can find it. I think we're sort of getting to an area where if relevancy is actually as good as it is, and it is by all accounts. It is amazing to think that people don't automatically revert back to low to high or distance. This car is probably the right car for you. It's within 25 miles of where you live, right colour, similar right price that we think you'll like. And people buy them. Blimey, that's amazing.
I think, though, and we did this research when I worked for the e-commerce agency that I spent some time with, and we used a psychology team, and they sort of looked at the moments, so Google moments we talked about, like when that was, how you kind of look at what are those key fundamental human touch points or moments. And then the low to high thing, there was something like when they were talking about like how human brains compute, and we have so many, I think we have like so many words in a day. I think we have a word quota. Everyone has a different word quota.
Yes.
Some days I come home and I'm like, I've been too quiet. My word quota.
Yeah.
And it's like decisions. I run out of decisions. I'm like
35,000 decisions a day we make. That's the average, apparently, according to many psychologists.
And that's those little micro moments of I'm turning left or right, I'm getting on the train,
teeth.
I'm looking at my phone.
Then you get to the end. If you've used up all your decisions, you feel wiped out, and you genuinely do feel wiped out.
So there was something about the simplification, and this is like atomic game. There's loads of books that have been written about all this kind of stuff. If you're interested in the psychology, we can certainly drop some references into the podcast at the end. But there was the example that the researchers gave was Starbucks have something like 5,000 different types of coffee, or how many hundreds, but they'll advertise 5. So it's, flat white, blah, blah, blah.
Way too much choice. You don't want a choice. It just kills you, exactly. So reduce it down to, make simplification. Absolutely right.
And the way that you advertise wines on a menu, you don't do low to high. You kind of want to almost confuse the consumer. No one wants to choose the most expensive, and nobody will choose the cheapest. You'll always go somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So you're kind of like, your brain needs someone to filter the relevancy. Can I find the one in the middle? Just help me make it. Yeah. Look at what I've been doing and then kind of filter it. Do the filtering for me so I haven't got to scroll through millions of ads. So I didn't know that you were doing that. That's an incredible piece of tech. That's really
it's
great.
An amazing piece of tech, isn't it? And if the product's right for you, it may be more expensive than the other ones, but actually it's the right one for you.
Yeah.
So
we know as well, people will spend more money on the thing that's right for them. They'll kind of flex up or down. You've always got a little bit of wiggle room in your budget, and you'll kind of maybe go higher because it's got that Bluetooth or it's got the CarPlay, and you've bothered to put it in the ad. So I don't mind spending a bit more because it feels like I've got good value.
Yeah. So it's like that phrase you're always warned when you're going to buy a house or a car. And the estate agent says, so what's your budget? And you go, oh, it's 350,000. So then they start showing you £400,000 houses. Well, hang on a minute. No, my budget's 350. Or I've got a £15,000 budget for the car. Here's one that's 19. Oh, yeah, actually, I could stretch to that.
I know. The affordability of the monthly payment was always, here you go.
That's the biggest change that's happened in our industry over the last 5-6 years is monthly payment. I mean, it's obvious, and it's not a new thing. But it's obviously started in America with leasing. But in lockdown, last year, when the ZEV mandate came out and everyone started to go, we've got to shift 22% of our stock, and all the no surprise, big worry, we have to, otherwise we've got these horrendous fines coming. There were some ridiculous discounts. At one point, you could get a Honda Anyone for £200 a month, no deposit. £200 a month, no deposit, 2 years, drive away this £50,000 car, which is basically throwing money away. And they obviously stopped it for a while, but one of our colleagues got the last one. He said, I couldn't turn it down. 200 quid a month for a 50 grand car with no deposit. It's just like, so.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Well, everyone thinks now, and we are, so I am very old, which is really annoying at the moment, but I'm happy I'm still around. But I am not in the generation that grew up with leasing or finance. I did finance cars, but I would do it as paying it off. But everyone now is on a phone contract, £100 a month. What's it going to cost me a month to buy this car? So that's
my whole life is monthly.
Everything is monthly now, isn't it? Yeah.
So I was going to ask you actually, have you seen? Because I was in Canada last week, and the finance, they're opening up open banking. They're a little bit behind in terms of how they kind of do some of those open banking things. So actually that's now becoming a lot more agile, a lot more connected. Fintechs are really exploding there. And we've seen the same here. Have you seen more consumers looking for a leasing? And I don't actually know because I haven't looked at the site recently, full disclosure. Do you see people looking for leasing or still looking at PCP? Because PCP is less of a thing in Canada, less of a thing in South Africa. They tend to have more HP there or leasing. And primarily the reason, because I asked in Canada, why do people do PCP? Because to me, it makes it really affordable. And partly it was because the balloon payment was kind of not that well explained. So people would get to the end of their PCP balloon payment term and then go, I was still owed $20,000. What? I don't have $20,000.
Yeah.
So that then felt quite challenging, and that was a massive pain point. People then moved away from it back into HP, which is expensive, and as you spread out the term of the loan, people don't want to keep a car for 8 years, so they're then upside down with their finance. So there's there needs to be a bit of an adjustment, and I think particularly with EVs, leasing feels like it's less of a risk. If you're risk averse, you're not worried about the battery, you can lease it and then give it back in however many years. Have you noticed that shift? Or
no, not. Yeah, because I'm not a leasing expert, so that's not my area of expertise. And we do have a leasing element for Autotrader. It is taking off, but it is still, for many, it's quite confusing. It's, as you just said, it's like, well, if I pay every month, can I keep the car at the end? No, you have to give it back. Oh, but I like the car. Well, you have to give it back. So I've been renting the car for 3 years, yes, but you haven't had to pay insurance. Well, the most confusing thing actually is, that adds to this as well, is the salary sacrifice schemes.
Yeah, which has everything loaded in.
Yeah. So £500 a month, and you get a car, insured, tyres, servicing. You go, oh, brilliant, it's brand new, you just like drive it for 3 years. Then at the end of 3 years, it goes back. I don't think you can buy them. I don't know that you can.
I don't think you can with leasing. You can sometimes request to buy them at the end of the lease if you want to, or you can extend the lease if you want to. So,
but for many people who are on a budget, and most of us are, £500 a month to run a brand new car is brilliant if you can afford it, or £300 a month or whatever it is. The balloon payment element is scary. I bought a car on PCP for my wife. Bought a Mini long time ago. Bought it because before leasing was really popular, and there was a balloon payment at the end. And all it meant was we could afford the monthly payments for 3 years, and then we took out a loan to pay off the balloon payment.
So you either flip it into the next vehicle, which a lot of people do, and that's why we see people now working a lot on retention. So there are ways by which you can then trigger me into my next purchase, and actually manufacturers are targeting you
they love
before the term finishes.
Exactly. Yeah, come to our VIP event. We want to get you into another car, and you just carry on, which is great. Which is great. You're always in a new car. Yeah.
And you're investing actually less. You don't have to market to me as much because you've taken me out of the market sooner.
It's much easier to invest to market to your customer than to find a new one, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So no, that is brilliant. That is brilliant. If you're happy to not physically own the product, there's still, old school. I think there is a bit of an age gap. If you're under 45, you grew up with a computer at school. If you're over 45, you didn't have a computer at school. And I'm one of those, sadly. So I had a blackboard with a chalk. And so I'm still computers. Still, I mean, obviously I understand it now, but it's still a bit like under 45, everyone gets it. It's just like, yeah, of course, that's what I do. That's what I do. So we've got an older generation who are living longer as well. Average age is now thankfully growing a bit, so they're living longer. So we have to adapt our whatever commerce model we're doing to every age group. Yeah. So the 90-year-old, so my parents, my dad still, he has his phone, but he still keeps it in the car. It's his car phone. He puts it in the glove box. It's just like, God, blimey, because when he drives to the golf club, he can use it. But he doesn't have it on him, because why would I?
I love that, the car phone idea that used to be plugged in with a curly wire.
But there's car phone warehouse, the shop. That's what it's called.
Oh, my God.
It's still called car phone warehouse. And, of course, it's illegal to use a phone in a car now, as a car phone.
It is.
So that's how... So there are a lot of 90-year-olds, and he's still driving, my dad. Which, imagine his reaction time. It must be appalling, basically.
Yeah.
But
this is where you've got things like, I suppose, the tech in the vehicles now. Actually, hopefully he's got a modern vehicle.
He's got a modern vehicle. It keeps it in lane control. He's got a little Lexus. All that kind of stuff. Yeah, which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's like, whew, thank God. Yeah. And it's automatic. He hasn't got to worry about a clutch and missing it and all that. So, yeah.
Oh, my God. So, listen, just as we kind of round up this episode, and it's been brilliant talking to you. Thank you so much. I love spending time with you. It's brilliant. I always learn something. What are you hearing now from retailers that we or this podcast or you or kind of what do they need to get most help with, do you think?
The biggest thing is this electric change, and it's just such a horrible change. It's so hard to persuade people to do something that is new, and it isn't very easy to do with all of the barriers and the myths you see in place. What I go out and present a lot about is trying to bust myths. So there's many stats. We did a survey of 2,000 people, so statistically robust survey. When we asked them, have you heard about these myths? One of the myths is that electric cars catch fire, that they cause car parks to collapse. 45% of people said, yes, I've heard that they cause car parks to collapse. What? What do you mean? Why would an electric car cause a car park to collapse? Because they're heavy. All cars are heavy. No car is light. They're not suddenly added 9 tons. They're not lorries. They're cars. But there's a perception. Have you heard about it? Yes. Has it turned you off? Yes. Do you think you're likely to buy one? No.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, bad news sells newspapers. We know it does. When something bad happens, all the newspapers rub their hands with glee and says, everyone else is going to rip
We'll have a catastrophe.
We'll have a catastrophe, which is appalling. Yeah. But it does. We like bad news, and we have fake news, and that's effectively what this is. There's a whole load of fake news about electric cars. I mean, electric cars catch fire. I mean, all cars can catch fire, and of course it's horrendous. But actually, latest stats we saw were in Sweden, where they've massively adopted electric cars, 0.0004% of car fires were EV, which is you've got more chance of being struck by lightning, is the actual sort of that kind of stat. It's
That's crazy.
Oh, right, blimey.
Yeah.
So although I was talking to someone last week who said his neighbour's Tesla caught fire, he's like, oh, God, really? But he could have had it plugged into the 3-pin plug or something overnight, and it could have been, and apparently that is dangerous. If you just plug your electric car into a 3-pin on an extension lead,
there's a lot of power going
There's a lot of power going into these things. Your phone gets hot when you plug it in anyway. So, there is those kind of elements. So, how do you bust all these myths? Another myth was we haven't got enough power in the national grid. If everyone plugs in, if we all bought an electric car tomorrow, we'd run out of power.
Yeah.
In the 80s, that probably was true. We had things like big cathode ray tube tellies, those big fat monitors we all used to have, which used a lot of power. And we had tungsten filament bulbs in our lights, which got hot and used a lot of power.
Yes.
And now we have LED lights and LCD screens and OLED, and they use far less power. And then, according to the national grid, if everyone plugged in, we'd be absolutely fine. But we don't know this. And our grid is all... It's coal powered. All we've done is put the fumes and emissions from exhaust pipes. All this does and put them into power stations. But the last coal powered power station in the UK closed last year in Nottingham. We're now green. We don't have coal power. They're powered by wind.
Yeah.
Go to Lincoln, would you see windmills? I flew into Glasgow. couple of years ago, I went on the train last week to Glasgow, and you just see windmills. You go to Norfolk, go to Brancaster, North Norfolk coast.
Yes,
windmills.
All of them. Yeah,
windmills,
the whole
windmills,
Norfolk coast, Suffolk coast is just, they've got offshore wind farm, haven't they?
Almost over half of the power that powers us in the UK is wind. I didn't know that, but yeah. So myths like this need to be busted.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be part of this ongoing.
Yeah. Oh, it's a continuous ongoing thing. It's an educational piece, but it's also like reframing. Reframing is a way of getting around things too. This is a nice reframe. We asked women who own EVs, what do you like about your car? And 85% of people who've had an electric car say, I'll have another one, because they don't see the myth, they just get it, they understand it. I'm sounding like a massive EV evangelist. I'm not, I'm just into it.
The EV evangelist stroke petrolhead.
Stroke petrol. Just one out. I've got a petrol car, a hybrid, and now an EV. So we asked women who own EVs, big sample, what do you like about your EV? And they said, good for the environment, cheap to run, and almost a third said, I don't have to visit the petrol station anymore. Brilliant. My wife, Lynn, hates going to the petrol station. She's always hated going. She always says to me, oh, can you go and fill up the Mini, please? Because, there's men there, I might get attacked, it's mucky, don't feel safe. It's just a cute way of getting me to pay for a fuel. And of course I do it because I love her, and it's been annoying. And all she does is drive from Bromley to Chelsea with our daughter Rosie a couple of times a week. It's about a 15-mile round trip. And I've been telling her for years, let's get you an EV and you need never go to... And you'll be fine. She goes, no, they run out of power, I'll run out, they catch fire, all the myths. I said, look, we've got to drive. If we get you an electric Mini, you need never go to the petrol station again. And she said, oh, OK, I'll have one.
Yeah, like
and
that.
that was the reframe. It's just like, it's that kind of reframe.
I have a little atomic game where I challenge myself. So every night I plug it. It annoys me if I don't plug my car in because I've got it set up to charge overnight.
Yeah.
And it's a hybrid, so it doesn't have a massive range, but it has enough range for me to do my 6 or 7 miles a day, or 13 to the station and back, which is what I tend to do. So I'm okay with that. So my son came in from work last night. I was like, oh, could you just quickly, if you've got shoes on, run and pop, just back my car on charge. So I now park my car next to the charger, plug it in, and I very rarely have to fill it up. And that's my kind of monthly thing. So
yeah. Actually, in just the complete converse of that, I was with another group. They're in Wales last year, and the dealer principal had got his dad to buy a PHEV. It was a Mitsubishi, and he didn't put petrol in it for a year because he just ran it around, and the petrol went off.
Oh, no way.
Which you can do. I didn't realise petrol goes
that.
off. Yeah,
well, I've got a bit of my boys call me Jackie Leadfoot because I do tend to get my foot down.
So, if you use a bit.
When I go into the car. So, well, listen, again, that was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap up this episode. And in the next episode, we're going to be doing some more myth busting, and also because you are an aging rocker, Nick, this is known to most people, we're going to be looking at your best road trip and your road trip playlist. So I'm going to wrap up the episode. So thanks again, Nick King from Autotrader. What a great episode that was, and we'll see you on the next show.